Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers.
And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 16, Episode 73. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Monday, Steelers Nation. And Dave, there is more football to be played. The final scenes and sights of last night's game, a 26-24 win for the Pittsburgh Steelers that clinches the AFC North, sends them to the playoffs, and a date with the Houston Texans Monday night will be Ravens rookie kicker Tyler Loop missing wide right in an end zone in which a Catholic priest blessed with a John 3:16 sign in the background. Divine intervention, some may say so. Whatever the reason, Pittsburgh is headed to the playoffs. Dave, how you doing?
Oh, I am doing no sleep. That's what I'm doing. I'm still trying to wrap my head around Steelers Ravens, right? Just when you think you have seen it all in this series between these two teams, you see something else. And look, I've obviously seen a lot of these games. I know you have as well too. That's one that we're not soon going to forget. I know that was one crazy fourth quarter, and I'm trying to wrap my head around, did the Steelers snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, or did the Ravens snatch defeat from the jaws of victory? Call it whatever you want, but the Steelers are in the tournament now, as they like to say, and doesn't matter how you get there. It just matters that you get there. And then now they got 1 in 7 chance. I figured out that math on the AFC side of representing in the Super Bowl there. So that was a crazy, crazy game. And I found myself, I think, 4 different times in that fourth quarter for both teams saying, "Oh, they're going to win this."
I'm sure the coaches and players felt the same.
Yeah. Crazy, crazy game. But, I don't know. Where do we normally start? About the 30,000-foot look or whatnot?
Yeah, give us a 30,000-foot view. How did Pittsburgh win this game, even by Steelers-Ravens standards? This one was bonkers, an all-timer that you said will not be forgotten by anyone involved. Players, fans, coaches, support staff anytime soon. How did Pittsburgh do it?
I think first and foremost, two of the oldest people on the field, Aaron Rodgers and Cam Heyward. I think that's where you start there. Cam Heyward, on a defensive look, the defense was not without its warts, right? And I messed up and put a tweet out before the game about the Steelers had never allowed a player 32 years or older to rush for more than 100 yards in a game against them, and basically was bored because it was such a long time before kickoff. Derrick Henry turned 32 yesterday, so I went down rabbit holes and all like that, killing time. Well, Derrick Henry had over 100 yards in the first half of this game, so there was that component to it, and you're thinking, man, he had 15 rushes, over 100 yards in the first half, but they weren't. Yeah, I kind of harken back to what you had said, or what your analysis was. What was it? The first time that these two teams met, it didn't feel as impactful of yards that Henry had, and this was definitely the case here. So 3 of his runs totaled for like over, 70-something yards, and then the other 50 came on the other. What was it?
20 total.
Yeah, 17 carries and all. So second half obviously was a different story. Cam Heyward, just long story short, Cam Heyward played a fantastic game. And this was even after the first play where he got injured trying to chase down Derrick Henry, running for 40-something yards or 30-something yards down the field. And you're thinking, oh, Lord, did they just lose him on the first play of the game? Well, he came back a couple plays later and he was even better at that point. So there's that component. I thought Cam Heyward played a hell of a damn game and was a big component on defense, even though the defense wasn't perfect. And then on the offensive side of football, Aaron Rodgers, that's why you waited that
Yep.
time for Aaron
3
Rodgers
months.
to make that decision, because of what he has in his mind, between his ears, what all he has seen, his ability to have ice water in his veins, like nothing ever phases him, and his ability to lead a team. Now, was it the absolute best game that Aaron Rodgers has played this season? Well, it's pretty damn close. I mean, this is a guy that hasn't turned the football over since, I don't even know when.
Week 10 against the Chargers, 7 straight games
Wow.
without a pick.
So there's that component of it, and the guy has the ability to take a play and get players to change up something on the backside of it, like he did with Calvin Austin on the final touchdown there. Little tweaks to play calls, checking in and out of stuff. But I'll go with that as my 30,000-foot view. Is the two oldest players on the field made a huge difference in this game that allowed them to be imperfect and then some on both sides of football, yet still win the game. How's that?
Really well said, Dave. And just a quick reminder or announcement, Dave and I will have a live stream tonight, Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time on my YouTube channel. So it'll be a fun, a joyous live stream, which it certainly could have gone the other way many times based on last night. So join us for that and we'll answer your Steelers questions. But that was going to be my takeaway, my conclusion, my 30,000-foot view. This one was for the old heads. They still got it. The literal two oldest players on that field last night, Aaron Rodgers and Cam Heyward, played great football. For Heyward, it quite literally, and I say this without hyperbole or hyperbole, as you might say, this might have been one of Cam Heyward's best games of his entire career. He knew how much this one meant to him. He brought it from that very first snap, unfortunate as it was, 41 yards, the hustle, the effort, is partly what defines him, but also what defines him is stacking and shedding and getting off blocks and making tackles and getting pressure and being impactful, batting down passes that turned into that TJ Watt interception. That was huge. And we talked about on Friday, Pittsburgh wins this game. How would they win it? And I'm wrong. So you can all thank a Catholic priest and me, I think, for helping facilitate this victory. It's the old joke of what if Alex and a Catholic priest walk into a bar, something from there. But whenever the game gets tight in those final moments, when it's Steelers and Ravens and Steelers in general, Pittsburgh generally comes out on top. That is Mike Tomlin's superpower. Since becoming Pittsburgh's head coach in 2007, no team has a better winning percentage in one-possession games than Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. No team has won more games in one-possession fashion than Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, that fate was really not determined by them last night by virtue of Tyler Loop missing that kick wide right, mishitting it, as he would tell reporters. But a win is a win is a win, no matter how you get it. That's all that we remembered about this game. And so in those clutch moments, in those tight moments, Pittsburgh always seems to make that play over Baltimore, or Baltimore at least fails to make that play when the position is there.
Yeah, how many times has Cam Heyward led the team in total tackles with 7 or more in a game? That's something maybe to research. But not only him up front too, that defensive line, I thought as a whole, and it's hard. Once again, you go back to saying, yeah, but Derrick Henry rushed for over 100 yards in the first half and all, but they weren't outside of 3 runs there. They did a very good job on the rest of them. Now, the whole other stuff on the back end, you had 2 different components to this defense. You had what was happening on the front end, and you had what was happening on the back end. And we'll get into this in a little bit when we start breaking down the game of what went wrong on several of those plays. But they did a good job on third down overall. Obviously, there's the 3 explosive play touchdowns. I mean, how many? What Lamar Jackson had 11 completions, I think. 3,
That was it.
And 3 of them end up in the end zone on double explosive plays or damn near close to it and all. Yeah, I mean, look, they hung around, and It was hard. It was easy to get down at the end of the first half there when you don't punch it in down deep, and you go for it on fourth, and the clock expires and all like that. But yeah, I don't want to start getting into the game because I know we got to get housekeeping done and all like that portion of the podcast and all. But I thought the front of the Steelers defense played very well. The back end not so much. And then on the offensive side of football, I thought the Steelers offensive line played really well. It took a while for the run game to get going, but once it did get going, that was a big component to this. And then Aaron Rodgers making a couple incredible throws in this game was the difference. And then, yeah, I mean, the Ravens didn't make the one last final play that they needed to make, and it was a 40-something yard field goal with a rookie kicker to boot. And, that ended up obviously being the difference in the ball game.
The final game of the regular season came down to the final play of the regular season to determine the playoff winner, and that is Steelers Ravens in a nutshell. Let's get to our housekeeping. It's pretty light today. We'll speed through it, but as always, is sponsored by our friends at touringplans.com. I have not spoken with Len Testa, who runs Touring Plans, the founder. He's a big-time Steeler fan, but I'm sure he's happy today. But if you are planning a trip to celebrate, let's just say you have a Disney celebration for Pittsburgh punching the ticket to the playoffs. You probably don't, but if you wanted to, check out touringplans.com. Let them be your co-pilot to help plan your trip and have the best experience to Disneyland, Disney World, Disney Cruise Lines, any of the Disney excursions. So how to save money on tickets, restaurant reviews when the park is least busy, so you're not sitting in line for 90 minutes just to ride one dang ride. Check out Touring Plans and let them be your guide. Thank them as a regular season-long sponsor and now a playoff sponsor for Pittsburgh come their wildcard game Monday night against the Houston Texans. So check out the site, touringplans.com. Check out their app and tell them Steelers Depot sent you. All right, Dave, housekeeping portion. We'll quickly get through that. Not a ton here. Pittsburgh making one roster elevation move on Saturday, promoting quarterback Deshaun Jameson from the practice squad to the active, inactive roster. He played. You got a great clip of him as a gunner rep, forcing a fair catch on that. I think that was the Waitman repunt after the one penalty on Skoranek. So good job by Jameson. Injury standpoint, Pittsburgh got out seemingly pretty clean. I know those late games, it can be hard to get a good injury report from Mike Tomlin, just because the game just wrapped up, but there were seemingly no notable in-game injuries. Mike Tomlin referring to just bumps and bruises associated with play. So that is good. Of course, Darnell Washington remains on IR, but DK Metcalf, his suspension is over. He'll be back, and everyone's excited about that. So those are kind of the big housekeeping things, Dave.
Yeah, it was interesting to. I didn't expect. I think we went into the weekend thinking that this team might not have to elevate anyone. Well, they did, and Jameson ended up being the guy, and that kind of threw off our thoughts of maybe Driscoll being active for this game. But the moment that they elevated Jameson, at that point, you thought, well, yeah, probably Driscoll isn't going to dress. He'll just go with the normal 8 offensive linemen dress. At that point, to me, it felt pretty easy to pick out the inactives, and they had to have 6 of them because of the elevation in this one, and they went just the way that I thought that they would. Obviously, Will Heyward was the third quarterback. You had Roman Wilson and Caleb Johnson, both healthy scratches. You had Driscoll was obviously a healthy scratch. Well, you had all healthy scratches in this game. And who were the other ones real quick here? Help me out here.
Who'd you say? Heyward, Wilson, Johnson, Driscoll.
Trey Flowers was one of them. And I'm missing one in there somewhere. But anyway, they all went pretty much chalk on the 6.
Oh, Jeremiah Moon, right?
Oh, yeah, Jeremiah Moon. And we had talked about that with TJ Watt back there. So, yeah, that it was a surprise. But here's the thing that stuck out to me going in through the TV tape, as you pointed out, that I put on Twitter early in the morning. There's, I don't know, maybe they found themselves a new gunner. He didn't do anything fantastic other than split the vise, and boy, he's pretty pretty quick kid too, and that ended up being a fair catch. But it just stuck out to me that he was able to get downfield as quick as he did on that punt, and that probably played into fair catch on that situation there. So maybe something to watch moving forward here with him.
That was a 53-yard gross and net punt because there was no return, which is huge. I mean, net is, you're shooting for probably 42, 43-ish yards. So 53 is fantastic. That was a punt from Pittsburgh's 12 to the Ravens' 35. So it was a true field flipper. Baltimore punted on the other end, and Pittsburgh got the ball for one last drive at the end of the half. We won't talk about how that drive ended. We'll talk about it, of course. But that was a big moment, and no one cares about net punting, but certainly want to tip the hat to Waitman and to Jameson for those plays there off that penalty. All right, Dave, let's talk about this game in depth. Well, should we do Kenneth Gainwell just quickly? Kenneth Gainwell was named team MVP before the game. That was on Friday after our podcast wrapped up. So well-deserved for Kenny G. And, of course, he played a really strong game against Baltimore on Sunday night.
Yeah. At what point during the season did we say, I might need to consider Kenneth Gainwell as a potential dark horse MVP candidate? Now, did I ever think that was going to come to fruition? I kind of thought that it would go towards Aaron Rodgers, as I said on the show the other day there. I was not floored or shocked that Kenneth Gainwell, he more than deserved it, man. He made some big plays, especially in the second half of the season there for sure there. So congrats to him. Man, what a signing that was for this team. And we just go back to conversations that we had going into the season, wondering what kind of impact that he would have. And I said it a couple of shows ago. I no way did I imagine that he'd have the kind of impact that he had this season, not only as a pass catcher, but as a ball carrier as well too. So props to him. He's made himself a lot of money this season, and the Steelers would be absolutely foolish not to bring him back next season. And boy, Aaron Rodgers thinks the world of him as well too. So this was impact versus price paid for him has really been, bang for the buck there. And it was even though I didn't think it would ultimately come down to him being the choice, I'm glad it was, and he really did deserve that honor.
Yeah, again, they don't typically give it to quarterbacks because it's kind of the default and often in many years. So understood why Rodgers didn't get it, and Gainwell certainly deserving. Only one of two free agent signings in Steelers history since the MVP was awarded beginning in 1969 to win MVP. James Ferrier, the other. So really impressive year for Kenneth Gainwell, and he was impressive in the win over Baltimore. So Dave, let's kind of reset here. Pittsburgh winning this one. Baltimore rookie kicker Tyler Loop missing that 44-yard field goal wide right as time expired. Chris Boswell missing an extra point after the Calvin Austin touchdown, which just adds to the craziness of this game. It ended up being kickers missing, but Baltimore's miss mattered more than Pittsburgh's miss, and that's why Pittsburgh is going to the postseason. They will host the Houston Texans, winners of 9 straight, Monday night at Acrisure Stadium. The game televised on ESPN. We'll talk about that briefly towards the end of the show. Let's start with this Steelers offense. It was a tough start early. Pittsburgh really struggled to find their traction. That was my concern. How would Pittsburgh run the ball? Struggling to run and pass, but the fourth quarter, the second half, really came alive. Aaron Rodgers playing great football, throwing some seeds downfield, finding Pat Frymuth, finding Calvin Austin. The run game did get going to some degree. Jalen Warren with a couple of tough runs. Gainwell making some plays too. So, your offense made plays when they had to.
Yeah, the first 4 possessions, obviously not what you want. You run 4 plays and have to punt on your opening. Let's start with the coin toss too. How surprised were you that they won the toss and decided to defer?
I was pretty surprised, and I don't often think about and try to guess and speculate what Pittsburgh will do in the coin toss, but I thought I was pretty confident. We talked about that. You win this coin toss, you take this football and get your offense out there early, keep Baltimore's offense and Derrick Henry off the field as long as you can. So I was pretty surprised, and obviously, it started well for Baltimore.
Yeah, it did. But backing up, and we'll talk about the offense here. Obviously, the Ravens went down and got a touchdown on their opening drive. The Steelers' first possession, they run 4 plays and have to punt. Their second possession, they ran a handful more plays, 7, and then they gave it up on downs on the obviously the brotherly shove Pittsburgh version of it, Heyward on Heyward, and I should get a little kudos there. I kind of wondered if Cam Heyward might be that guy that they put on the field with Darnell Washington out, and he was indeed the guy. Looked like he tackled almost brother Connor Heyward uh, on that first usage of that. And here's the other thing there. That was officially, I think, 4th and a yard, but
It's the longest yard I've ever seen.
yeah, it was like 3 yards. It felt like. So obviously you turn the football over on downs in that situation. That led to 3 more points. You get the ball back, and you kind of, what they get, like 36 net yards on that next possession. At least they did get a field goal out of that. Their following possession after that, they're down, what was it? I guess 10-3 at that point. They go 3 and out in that situation and have to punt. It wasn't until their 5th drive that they really started to get things to come together with the running game, and I think that kind of started off with one of those tosses to the right side. Good blocking, Zach Frazier, nice reach on that play. Faetano, Mason McCormick, Connor Heyward, great blocks. That did open up that drive, right? I believe it did. But and then you drive all that, you 13 plays down the field, 81 yards, and you're thinking, all right, go ahead and punch this in, because you get the ball first in the second half. You got a good chance to double up. At a minimum, you got to come away with 3 points in that situation. And I'm okay with going for it in that situation on the 4th down, because man, you spend all that energy, and this is a big game, and you kind of wonder, a field goal is going to do it. You want a lot of momentum going into the half. You obviously get the ball coming out first in the second half there. It's just the play call and the execution of kind of that misdirection pitch out to the side to Kenneth Gainwell. It just, I mean, you just didn't have.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you like the decision to go forward. You get the PI on Pat Fry, move Pittsburgh is really just in position to kick a field goal. Rodgers is literally intentionally throwing the ball out of the end zone just to
Right.
make sure that you can kick the field goal, get the PI. 2 seconds left, ball to 1, down 10-3. Was it the right call to go for it?
I don't have a problem with it, and because if you unfortunately don't get it, at least you get the ball. At least time's going to
Right.
expire, and you're going to get the ball first in the second half. Now, if it was the other way and you weren't going to get the ball first in the second half, I think you kick the field goal in that situation. And I mean, it's a yard, and you think you could draw something up in that situation. Although you're coming off of a game against Cleveland where you had 4 chances from the starting at the 10 and on in that you couldn't put it in there. I'm okay with going with it. I just didn't like. It's easy to second guess the play call once it doesn't work, but they obviously didn't have numbers out to that side. I don't think Freiermuth got off, accomplished what he needed to do. And even if he had, I think you get one-on-one situation. That's obviously one that you want your guy to win. But I would have liked something, anything other than that, I think, on that play call.
Sir, if you caught my cough there, Dave and I are working on negative hours of sleep,
Yeah.
and so I forgot to hit the cough button on my mic there. But yeah, I'm on total alignment with you. I'm okay with going for it. It did feel weird how many moments that were supposed to hurt Baltimore ended up helping Baltimore. The
Right.
PI helping them out. That Patrick Ricard replay assist that turned a 1st and 10 and a 3rd and 1 in the 4th quarter that set up the touchdown by Zay Flowers, ended up helping Baltimore. Zany kind of moments in this game. I'm okay with going for it because, as you said, you get the ball second half, and plus it's winner take all. You got to be more aggressive in these moments. Trust your guys to go out there and make plays. So I'm okay with going for it. I dislike the play call less than most other Steeler fans. I don't know if I love it, but I get the intent to fake you didn't really sell the fake to Johnny well, but maybe you're just trying to have some eye candy there, then pitch it out to Gainwell. Frymuth has to have a better block there. He's shuffling his feet, takes a weird angle, does not get a good piece of Van Noy. You really miss Darnell Washington in that moment. And so it's basically you're trying to crack the end man. You're getting one-on-one with the corner. You like that matchup for a running back on a corner. I wish Gainwell, or I wish Warren would have had the carry, even though Gainwell's a really good player, certainly has a big role in this team as he should. Warren's just a more powerful player that can make a guy miss or break through a tackle. I'd rather have Warren have that chance than Gainwell, but because Frymuth's block was poor, it allowed Van Noy to kind of close that space, get back into play, and Gainwell had no chance. So the play call was not great, wouldn't have been my call. I thought it was acceptable. The execution, though, was just poor, and I wish Warren would have had the carry.
Here's the thing, in real time there, I was fine with going for it. And immediately after they didn't get it, though, I felt super depressed about it. Thinking, oh, why didn't they punt? Yeah, it felt like a huge momentum shift just the same. So I was fine with going for it, but I did find myself immediately just super depressed that they didn't get that. In other words, I was almost second guessing myself or mad at myself for thinking they should go for it in that situation.
Sure. How could you not in a situation like that? But Pittsburgh comes out of the half, and Dave, I think one big change in the second half of this season, I don't know exactly when it started, I'd have to look, maybe the last Baltimore game, but really good second half team, really good third quarter team. Pittsburgh has come out, flat in the third quarter specifically a lot early on this year. For the first dozen weeks or so, I've talked about that lack of double dip moments and kind of lamenting that. Pittsburgh gets the ball, start the second half, 12 plays, 67 yards, a touchdown to Connor Heyward, Cam Heyward, tush push. It was a really good drive to go tie the game. Baltimore throws a pick on the ensuing possession. Pittsburgh gets a field goal, takes the lead. What a big sequence that was to go from, as you said, kind of the despair of not converting end of the half to now midway, late in that quarter, you got the lead and you're right back in this thing and you're leading this thing.
And then at that point, being as how you moved the ball the way you did, looking back in, hindsight and all like that, then you're thinking, well, damn it, why didn't they kick the field goal on the fourth and one to end the first half? Because they would have had a lot of momentum at that point. But yeah, look, I mean, they really started clicking. Well, I mean, that last drive of the first half, they were clicking offensively. They just didn't finish the drive. But really, from what was that, 3:09, I guess, left in the first half. From that point on, the offense really seemed to move the football, and they got the ground game going. Now, look, a big component of this game obviously was when Hamilton and who was the other
Gilman.
Yeah,
He came back though.
Yeah, he came back, but the two collided. And then obviously both had to go off, and then they had to take a number at the blue 10, I guess, for a concussion check and all like that. And obviously Kyle Hamilton didn't come back, and then you had the other corner of theirs get injured.
That Wiggins?
Yeah,
Wiggins.
What was it, in the fourth quarter or late third quarter, whatnot? Them losing Hamilton was a big component of this game, especially when it came to the passing game or pass defense for them. And look, this was a suspect Ravens pass defense anyway. We had already talked about quite a bit throughout the ahead of the two meetings against Baltimore about how they had zero pass rush. I think that component allowed Aaron Rodgers to hold on to the football a little longer in his snap to throw times, and I was kind of hopeful going into the game that we'd be able to see that aspect of it as well. But yeah, the offense really moved the football well. I thought Aaron Rodgers did a good had good choices, especially you get some zone stuff to dump off underneath to his running backs quite a bit. Heck, you had the running backs had, what did they have, 160 or 170 total yards from scrimmage, I guess, in this game between Warren and Gainwell, and most of that seemingly came in the second half there. And once they got that run game going, it got Baltimore a little bit more on their heels, I think, where they had to respect that, and then that kind of opened up the downfield passing a little bit more. Now, you had some players making some nice we forgot to talk about, I guess, in the first half there, the misconnection between Aaron Rodgers and Johnny Smith, and this just got the common theme throughout the season is those two just cannot seem to get on the same page when throwing more than 5 yards down the field. And if you look at that, Aaron's got a lot of time on that. It kind of rolled out, and the
His feet got weird at the end there. He kind of like was hesitant. Should I throw it, not throw it? And the ball came out weird.
Yeah, there was some sort of hitch or weird step, and I put the all 22 of that up on my Twitter feed this morning. And did he expect Jonnu to maybe deepen? I don't know, kind of angle that off differently. I don't know, but if you watch his feet on that seemed off on that, and obviously the ball was way too high, so you miss. Missing that was a huge component of the first half. Unfortunately, it didn't end up killing you overall. But second half was a totally different story when it came to Aaron Rodgers throwing the football. Finally, they didn't get Pat Freiermuth I don't think his first target until the 2-minute mark. A 2-minute warning of the first half, and I was screaming, man, get this guy involved. And they finally did, and they got him involved a little bit more in the second half. Had a very nice throw to Thielen up the seam in this game. Freiermuth, you had Calvin Austin. Look, I was hard on Calvin Austin ahead of this game. The stat I vividly it's etched in my mind, saying that in the prior 7 games that Calvin Austin had played in prior to his hamstring injury, he caught nine passes for 90 yards. 7 games, 9 for 90. Well, he helped make up for us. I thought he made a lot of key catches in this. One of these was the dragon slant flat over to the left side, and then I thought it was funny to hear Aaron Rodgers talk about the touchdown play to him late, obviously, in the game to go what ended up being the winning touchdown. And that is, he basically said, "Calvin, what do you like here?" And I guess Calvin's kind of hawing around there, and somebody in the huddle, I guess, just said, "Cook him" or whatnot, and Aaron told him to run a hitch and go, and it was a very well run route on Calvin Austin's part. Now, the corner on that side did slip breaking down in there, but if you don't run that route the way that he ran it, well, the corner's not breaking inside to get the hitch part of it, and that played a role, and obviously the corner. So there's a lot of ways you can look at that one play and say, well, the corner slipped and all like that. Well, why did he slip? Because he's having to break forward on a well-run route. Obviously, once he slipped, Calvin ran right past him and ended up being a layup touchdown on that. But just a lot of key throws in this game, and you had to do it multiple times after giving up obviously late touchdowns to the Ravens there. And it just goes back to kind of the way we open up the show on the 30,000 foot view is, man, Aaron, you bought what's between Aaron Rodgers' ears and that arm of his and the decision making, because I already worked out the math on this. His average air yards per completion was under 4 in this game, and he didn't hit a lot. He wasn't hitting balls down the field early in this game. He hit the big ones down the field when it mattered, but everything else was really, really close to the line of scrimmage. It's just the ones in the second half where he chose to push the football down the field, he hit, and they needed every last one of those.
Just tweeting this stat now, got a bit of an assist from our Stats of the Weird comment section that kind of had half the stat, and I'm kind of taking the baton from there. Calvin Austin caught 3 touchdowns this year, Dave. All 3 came in the fourth quarter. All 3 gave Pittsburgh the lead, and the Steelers won all 3 of those. Jets game, Pats game, and Baltimore last night. So kudos to Calvin Austin. It's not been maybe a banner year. It's been difficult in some respects. Him and Rodgers not always on the same page, coming off the hamstring injury, contract year for Austin, big year for him. Playing time's been up and down, as you noted, kind of gone quiet for some stretches. But man, this guy makes some clutch plays and clutch moments, and Pittsburgh's reflective of that. So it's a great note for the regular season for Austin to go out on. It was a great route. And as Rodgers said, I think as you said too, there were some other big catches he made too. The dragon concept that you talked about. One of the few successful pass plays they had against Cleveland last week was the start of that last drive. Hit Scotty Miller on the same concept, same exact play. And so that was good. There was one. It was the third quarter, second quarter, I forget when it was, but another good catch downfield by Austin, breaking a tackle or two, getting some yak. So, I mean, Austin certainly made some big time plays, which was needed when, of course, DK Metcalf was unavailable.
Yeah, he delivered, obviously, one of those being an explosive play at 26 yards for a touchdown, and nothing bigger of his career. And I think he said he's going to give that ball to his pop, right? And and once again, I realized it was a layup. It was wide open at that point, but you still got to catch that ball. And once again, people will talk about the corner slipping on that, but it was a great stop and go. He sold it really, really well, and that corner doesn't slip in that situation if he doesn't run the route. I don't think the way that he did. So and I'm trying to play back in my mind what the other catch was, because he only had three in a game. One was the touchdown, one was the slant flat on the dragon concept, and I'm trying to remember what the other one was.
It's the one I'm referring to. Now, I'm describing it very poorly because, again, negative sleep for Dave and I, but let me just pull it up here. It was first and 10, 105 left in the half, 13-yard gain. It was I think a slant right side too, around the sticks where he caught. He got a couple yards after that. And so obviously Pittsburgh did not score points on that drive, but that was another nice catch and kind of semi-run for Austin.
All right. 3 impactful catches in that game for sure on 7 targets. Yep.
No doubt about that. The point that you made is really critical. The Kyle Hamilton injury was such a big loss for them. And I know that he plays, as Tomlin said post-game, more that box safety, kind of some sub-linebacker slot stuff, but as a communicator, as just an overall coverage guy, Baltimore, I think, and I don't have the exact numbers. I have not seen the all-22, Dave. I didn't realize, man, you've been tearing through that all-22 today. So kudos to you. You've been getting after it.
It came out at 3 a.m. my time.
And Dave was awake for it. Dave, you told me you literally have not slept a minute. None. So None. Just let that be known for any loopiness that happens. And also thank you, Dave, very much for everything you're doing.
And the more stuttering on my part because of no sleep. So
in my coughing. It's a great show. We certainly tease it well for you guys to tune in and listen. But when Hamilton went down, I think Baltimore probably had to play some more zone coverage. They felt less comfortable playing man. They lose a leader, a communicator out there. And in the immediate play following his injury, and Gilman, I guess, was out too still, you had that third down conversion from Rodgers to Freiermuth. I think the Ravens were trying to disguise their coverage. And man, Rodgers, that vintage lightning quick release to Freiermuth, that might be my forgotten play, because you convert that, you end up scoring a touchdown on that drive, tying that game. You go from 3rd and 10, you pick that up. That was huge. And so,
what about that route by Freiermuth on that one? That's got to be the best.
That was not the you're talking about the double move?
Yeah,
I'm talking about not the double move. This is right after Hamilton went down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is for 14 yards, not the 30-yard.
Okay.
That was a great play. It was a great play, but that was a big moment there when Hamilton went down, and you certainly felt the pass game start to really come alive the second that Hamilton left that game and did not return.
Was the one that you talk about, was the screen over, kind of the screen over to the side?
No, it was.
It was the other one. Okay.
It was. Hold on. 13:26 in the third quarter, 3rd and 10, Pittsburgh's 45. Rodgers to Freiermuth. It was like the camera barely even caught it because they came back from replay, I think. It was Hamilton and Rodgers kind of fist bumping as Hamilton came off, and then Rodgers just bullet to Freiermuth.
All right, I'll have to go back and watch. That one's escaped me all of a sudden.
I don't know, can you pull it up? Do you have the tape up?
TV tape? I can get the TV tape up on it real quick.
Because that was such a huge play.
Give me the timestamp on it.
13:26 in the third quarter. Pittsburgh's opening drive of the half. They're facing 3rd and 10, and you end up scoring there. Get the tush push on that drive, tie it at 10, get the pick, Boswell field goal, you're up 13-10. But of course, if Frymouth doesn't catch that, if you can't convert that, then who knows what happens from there.
Oh yeah, okay. The quick, yeah.
Yeah.
It went quick on that. Okay, I'm watching it right now.
So that was big. And then Thielen had a 28-yarder, which might have been Rodgers' best throw of the entire game. A seam down the
Oh
field.
yeah, I remember that because they had the linebacker coming over from the other side trying to get him, and Rodgers picked it up and put it right on him. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was a key. Yeah, that was a key catch in that situation there. Yeah, absolutely. Good call.
So, Frymouth's kind of been neglected for stretches of the season, and this game in big time moments and down the seam in particular, he's been making some awesome plays.
Absolutely, 3 huge catches in this game, and then while we're at it, talk about the route that the double move that he ran later on in the game to put him down at the 5-yard line, 4-yard line, something like that. Great route on his part. Aaron Rodgers talked about they've been talking about trying to get that completed. Date, I guess, all the way back to training camp and all like that. So only 3 catches in this game like Calvin Austin, but they were all 3 impactful plays because the other one was that little kind of screen over to the right side, right, where Frymouth got the yardage on.
Yeah, I think all 3 of his were first downs, correct? That was the screen pass was a first down for about 4 or 5 yards. So yeah, impactful. I think Austin and Frymouth, all their catches were first downs, correct?
I believe you're right.
So that's efficiency, no question about that. Gainwell making plays, Warren making plays on some of those escort swings, those guys in space. That was also, really important.
I agree.
But as one of the negatives, as you mentioned earlier, the disconnect between Rodgers and Jonnu Smith, not just on that Yankee concept, that play pass where it's wide open and Rodgers, like you said, hitched weird. I haven't seen the All-22, maybe you've seen it. There was a play action, I think it was play action, where Smith's working in the flat, right to left, appears to be wide open, and Rodgers just never sees him, and ended up, I think, throwing to Connor Heyward for a 3-yard gain, kind of in a muddied picture, and you just kind of wonder, how can these 2 guys get on the same page?
Oh, especially, with Jonnu, and there were moments in the first half where I was screaming, "Get Jonnu off the field" because of his blocking again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was an escort swing where I think he missed the block, and play got blown up, but you only got, without Darnell, you got limited options.
Absolutely.
What else here, Dave? Again, the backs, want to give them credit. The offensive line, I thought did a nice job. Obviously, Fautanu, McCormick, you watched that Gainwell touchdown. Those guys, big time blocks. The block that Fautanu had on Trenton Simpson on that Gainwell fly sweep touchdown, huge. Just completely widens that hole, sticks and drives, washes Simpson out of the picture. It's a nice block by McCormick too. I think on maybe Robinson, whoever it was, 95. I think. Frazier, I thought played well. Had a couple good reach blocks. A toss game found some traction. Dylan Cook maybe got beat a time or 2. He left the game too, which I don't know when that occurred. Maybe you can...
three plays, and that it surprised me when I was going through the game book to see that Andres Pete had 3 snaps, and I have not picked out where that was in the game yet. And at first I thought, man, did they get the game book wrong or something like that? But it looked at PFF as well too. So I believe there were 3 plays that he was out of the game for, and I have not figured out why or where that was at.
Yeah, I've learned the game book is never wrong. I always think, oh, it's wrong. It's always like your GPS. Like, the GPS is wrong. No, it's never wrong. The game book's never wrong. So we'll find those snaps. But I think he's okay. Tom did not mention him, and I'm pretty sure Cook finished the game out. So maybe there was headset issue with Dylan Cook. I don't know. He had a weird headset issue with Aaron Rodgers. So let's talk about that sequence there. Rodgers' headset, I guess, went out. He's burning timeouts. They switch helmets. That one doesn't work either. It's a comedy of errors.
Mason tries to throw him the armband,
the wristband,
wristband. He throws it back, and what a mess that was. And I was thinking to myself, okay, boy, you damn sure better score here, because you're thinking, man, you burn those timeouts. Hopefully, you're not going to need them at the end.
And Pittsburgh did score there, right? That was the Gainwell touchdown, but you certainly still could have used those timeouts at the end. But all is well that ends well. And Rodgers talked about why he used those timeouts, because you had your jumbo package on the field with Spencer Anderson, and Rodgers said there just simply aren't a lot of plays that you can run from that package, and so there wasn't a lot that you could try to check to, even though Rodgers is certainly capable of running the show, and it felt like at times, did so in this game. But Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. Just adds to the craziness of this game. You're at home, your headsets go out, and your backup headset goes out, and you still win this game. But that's why you have Rodgers, because he's not gonna phase him. Like, it sucks, and it sucks to use those timeouts, and it sucks your headset went out in such a critical moment. But you're never bothered by it. Rodgers seems unbothered. I mean, he gets mad and emotional on the field. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. But I mean, the guy is in the big moments when everyone's tight. He's calm. He is the straw that stirs his drink, and it's so cliche, and it's been said many times before, and I'm sure will be said again. This is why you brought Aaron Rodgers in. You brought him in for moments in games like these.
All right, other component to this, we went into the weekend kind of wondering, all right, might they do a couple of extra offensive linemen being eligible? They never did anything with that, but they sure did use Spencer Anderson eligible quite a bit in this game. We knew that at least they would be doing that. The second component, they did have Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Warren on the field for a handful of plays, but nothing at least I haven't seen, we don't have the offensive charting back yet on that, but it wasn't like it was like 7 or 8 plays. I don't think anything like that. But and obviously having to overcome the not having Darnell Washington, they were able to do that. I thought Spencer Anderson played. You talk about Dylan Cook, the whole offensive line. I thought for the most part, except for the kind of the early portion of the game when they were trying, and they didn't run a lot early on top of it there. But once they started getting a groove, I thought the pass protection was good throughout the game. And, once they got that running game on track, I guess in the final possession of the first half there, they were going downhill a lot in those situations there. So they used a lot of the jumbo package. I thought Cook played a good game. Fautano, the reach block on by Zach Frazier on that on the toss to the right there that kind of jump started the running game. McCormick, I thought, played a good game. I thought the offensive line really represented himself well overall in this game, and in pass protection. Although this pass rush that they faced in the Ravens was one of the most feeble ones that they'll see, and they're going to have to turn around and play a team in the Houston Texans that can really get after the quarterback here. So I imagine snap and throw times will be back around 2 seconds here in this game this next week here. But the offensive line played a huge part in this victory. And once again, once they got that run game going, and then once the Ravens lost Kyle Hamilton, those were combined big components of that game in the second half.
You're right. Baltimore's pass rush is pretty anemic, but you needed to continue that. You couldn't let their pass rush make any sort of plays and kind of catch fire in this game. And Rodgers had plenty of time, hit, I think, maybe 3 times, sacked twice, one of which was kind of a more extended play where what receiver broke over the middle? Was it Thielen? I don't know who it was.
Scotty Miller.
Scotty. Okay. Yeah. So
on the sack.
Yeah, on the sack. I mean,
he didn't have it. I don't think by the time Scotty Miller's flashing across, I think it was too late at that point.
Yeah, I'm not really blaming anyone, but just one of those, so close, this game was half seconds. We'll talk about that defensively, and that's how football usually is. Games are defined by half second moments, a step late, step slow, step ahead, all that kind of stuff. But the line did a really good job, and they have all season, and I think we're 24 snaps for Anderson, so I think all of those were tackle eligible, emphasizing the tush push, or not the tush push, but the jumbo package. The tush push also was used in this game, obviously. So, it was a good performance, and I'm really encouraged. No matter how this season ends up, one thing you came into 2025 saying, this offensive line, this young group had to ascend and become a group that you could roll with for a long time with fixtures and starters, and you have that. And that's a really positive sign for 2026 and beyond.
All right, 9 of 16 on third downs, and didn't we say what were they on third downs in that first meeting?
I can check. I have no idea. What were they good? Were they bad? What is your recollection?
Let's see. They were 6 of 14, 43%. So they were even better this time around on third downs in the game. And on the flip side, the Ravens 4 of 12 of third down in this game. The Steelers obviously 1 of 2 on fourth down. The early missed Cameron Bro or Heyward Bro tush push was the one miss in there, and they were 2 of 4 in the red zone. And Baltimore never got in the red zone, did they? Zero for zero
Well, they
in
hurt in
there.
big plays, so it did kind of made that moot. Pittsburgh a little better in the red zone. Obviously, the end of the half play was massively negative. Excuse me, but your last 3 games, you're 2-9 in the red zone, and so you have to be a whole lot better there for Houston.
They started to possess the ball a lot after those first 4 drives. They won the time of possession. 73, boy, you're not going to have a lot of charting to do in this one. 48 plays for the Ravens, 73 for the Steelers there. They didn't turn the football over. That was a key component to this game, obviously, as well.
And that basically flips Week 14, because in Week 14, Baltimore, I think, had 77 plays and Pittsburgh 51. So you really flip that script, and you won both ways. You won without a lot of plays, you won with a bunch of plays, and you won. That's all that matters.
All right. The yak component of this that we said that they were probably going to have in this game. Let me see if I can find my sheet here on that, because I've already done the true. I thought I did somewhere in here, but they had a good yak game overall, even when you do the adjusted yak on this, and I can't find what I did with the sheet here. Okay, they had 190. What was it? 194. No, I'm sorry. 100. No, that's right. 194 yak, I believe, in this game. They had 160 true yak or adjusted yak in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh, that's what they've done all season. There was that graphic that made me think of you mid-game. I think they showed me second quarter or so that Pittsburgh had gained 66% of their yards after the catch this year, which they've been around that number basically all season. Maybe it's come down slightly, but, Pittsburgh has been a yak attack kind of team. And, guys in space making plays, the backs especially, Kenneth Gainwell, one of your better receivers of the season. So that's kind of how Pittsburgh has won it, but they needed some big plays. They got some big plays in this one. I think they've had their 2 best big play games against Baltimore. They had, 5 explosives in that first matchup? I don't know how many explosives in this one day. Probably
5,
4 or so. Is it 5 again? Okay, so there you go, 5-5. Baltimore had allowed more big plays than any other defense in football this year. Even after they kind of righted the ship, they still allowed a bunch of big plays. They were hemorrhaging that. Their cornerbacks weren't matching their talent. You lose Hamilton. Wiggins was in and out with a concussion check, and then I think hurt again. Humphrey admitted post-game he has not played well this season. He's allowed a lot of big plays, and that's really what did Baltimore, and Harbaugh talked about that post-game. The chunk plays they've allowed this season was their undoing.
All right, I'm sorry, 4 explosive plays, and they only had 1 in the first half, and that was, did you have Aaron Rodgers scrambling for 20 yards down the left end on your bingo card as a explosive play in this game? I did not. But they had 1 explosive play in the first half. That came with 1:55 left in the second quarter. The other 3 obviously came in the second half. Rodgers deep to Freiermuth for 31 yards. The deep one to Adam Thielen for 28 yards. And then obviously the 26-yard touchdown to Calvin Austin III. So 4 explosive plays, and Aaron Rodgers on the hoof on one of those there. So, and you did kind of wonder through, getting into late in the first half there, man, what are they going to do to try to get some explosive plays? Because at that, here's the thing, talk about yak and all. The Ravens had their share of yak, but unfortunately, a lot of their yak came on the back end of wide open.
Yeah.
A lot of the yak came finishing up touchdowns after being wide open type situations there. So outside of that, I thought they can control the yak pretty decent when people weren't running down the field wide open for touchdowns.
Can I give you a stat of the weird? It's a little wordy on the Rodgers 20-yard scramble. It's his longest run since 2018. It's the longest run by a 42-year-old NFL player since Doug Flutie in 2004. Who had a 20-yard run in the season finale against the Chiefs. And the fun tie-in for that game, Dave, was that finale in which Flutie had that run was the first game Phillip Rivers ever threw an NFL pass. And of course, on Sunday was Philip Rivers' last game of his NFL career. At least we believe it to be his last game of his career. Granted, he did not play in that game, but he was in an NFL stadium. So kind of a fun full circle moment there for Philip Rivers and for Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, that was a big scramble there, and Rodgers kind of even eked out a couple yards at the end of that to make that an explosive play, a 20-yard gain. So kudos to him. It made up for that earlier play where he was running, and then remember
It
he was
wasn't
42
sure.
years
Yeah,
old, and then he tries
yeah.
to stop, and it was not a graceful or great moment there. Pittsburgh still made a field goal, got a field goal out of it by Boz, but made up for the blunder-ish earlier by Rodgers.
Yeah, that was a 3rd and 9 when that happened too, with 1:55 left, and obviously we know how that drive ended. But they at least they possessed the ball, moved the chains in that situation, and possessed the ball the rest of the first half, and didn't give it back to the Ravens. Obviously, at the end of that drive, they did by not converting, but the clock expired.
What was Pittsburgh's yardage in the first half versus second half? I know the end-of-half drive buoyed Pittsburgh's numbers to some pretty large degree. It was an 89-yard drive. It was a great drive except for the end. But what were the yardage differences first and second half?
Total net yards in the first half. Ravens had 165. The Steelers had 138. But up until that final drive, they had, let's see, the Steelers had 36 or 36, 72 minus 5. That's 67. They had 67 total net yards going into their final drive of the first half.
I think for the second half, then Pittsburgh would add 252. So if my math was correct, I think they had 390 total. So yeah, big glow up there in the second half, and of course got the pass game going, got the run game, which they needed to get the run game going because they had no run game early on, and they were able to kind of finally start finding some lanes, and the runners were running tough. Warren in particular, but also Gainwell in the second half.
Look, obviously being able to answer those touchdowns that the Ravens had late was big component of this game. I don't know if you have any quarterback out there other than Aaron. Not many quarterbacks around the league. I don't think that maybe could have pulled that off.
There's a couple, but not for $13 million.
Not many, right?
and they're all franchise quarterbacks who are firmly planted on their current team. So in terms of what quarterbacks you could have signed this offseason, or what quarterbacks you could have drafted or explored or acquired this offseason realistically that could have produced what Rodgers produced last night, it might be a party one. It might just be Aaron Rodgers.
All right. As far as negatives with this offense go, obviously the slow starts once again, which we've already hit on, and they're now up to 67 consecutive regular season games of failing to score more than 7 points in the first quarter. There, it'd be nice to have that come to an end against maybe even the Texans on Monday night here. But the slow starts, I mean, they're able to overcome them. This is a third quarter team. We've seen that time and time again this year. So fortunately, they showed up in the second half again in the third and fourth quarter of this game against the Ravens, because they certainly needed it.
I'm not even sure if the 67 games does it justice, because sometimes games kind of are hard for me to conceptualize. Pittsburgh has not scored more than 7 points in a first quarter in the entire 2023, 2024, and 2025 regular seasons. The last time was week 1 of 2022, that equally bonkers opener against the Bengals, and that was a defensive touchdown on Minkah Fitzpatrick, pick 6. Last time they scored it on offense, I think, was maybe 2020, I believe. So hopefully Pittsburgh can right that ship, but it's not defining them. Despite that ugly, horrendous stat, they were a better first drive team this year. I think they were a better starting team this year. They scored, 5, 6 touchdowns in opening possessions this season. So there's a silver lining to their starts despite that horrendous streak they're currently still on.
Let's see. I'm going back through the play-by-play charting, and I want to find out the third downs of more than 5 yards that they converted in this game. Let's see, third down yards to go of more than 5, and how many they converted. Success. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They converted 8 third downs of more than 5 yards in this game.
Yeah, I wonder how many of those were and long, which is defined by 7+ yards.
All right, I can find that for you here in just a moment. 7 or more?
7 or more yards, yes.
They converted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those. And how many third downs did they convert in the game?
9.
9. 9.
So 7
So
to 9, 3rd and 7 plus. Tough sledding, but Pittsburgh making it happen.
right, that's a lot to ask, that's another key component of not only were they converting third downs, 9 of 16 for the game, but 7 of those were third and longs.
And I know we talk about and lament Pittsburgh's third and long defense. Baltimore came in this game allowing a higher conversion rate on third and long this year. I think they were right above Pittsburgh. So that held true in this game. And Pittsburgh's third down defense was largely good. Now the fourth down, they're Baltimore 2-2 on fourth down. We'll talk about it. But third down defense was good.
All right, what do they have in penalties on offense? I know you had the false start, unfortunately, by Kenneth Gainwell late. You have Pat Fryermuth called for an OPI, illegal pick was another one. Was there any more on offense other than those two?
I'd have to think. I can check here. I can't think of anything right now. That OPI was the right call. Fryermuth has to. He stops and he looks at the defender. You got to sell that thing a whole lot better than what he actually did there.
I know
I think
two other of the 5 penalties that they had were, I think, special teams. One was on Skoranek and
Peppers was called for a hold on that Gainwell good run back. And really, I put the Skoranek penalty on Peppers because Peppers dictates when the snap occurs, also dictates the motion for Skoranek. So both penalties were on Peppers. The safety play, in a lot of ways, was not good in this game.
All right, so I think only 2 offensive penalties, either 2 or 3. I'm drawn. I think that
2.
was right. I think I was right on that as far as offense goes.
In Baltimore, 9 penalties with 78 yards. So they were highly penalized, some big-time holding calls that really killed them, especially in the first half. So let's flip over to the defense, David. And we're an hour into the show. We've not talked about the defense too much. A lot to talk about here, obviously. I'll just say this, Dave, to borrow a Mike Tomlin phrase. Cam Heyward played his male parts off last night. It was just unbelievable game. You got a bunch of clips in your timeline. What an outing by Cam Heyward.
Yeah, and I thought along with them, I thought especially in the first half of the game, I thought Keanu Benton was fantastic as well, too. I thought those 2 guys up front were good. I thought Harmon played well overall, and just up front in general. You have Jack Sawyer didn't play a lot of snaps in this game, but he came crashing down on the backside on one of those runs. And once again, you look at what goes back to what we said at the start here. Derrick Henry had 126 yards rushing on 20 carries. 15 of those came in the first half for like 112, I think, yards, right? So he had 5 carries for 14 yards in the second half of this thing. So they really smashed the run in the second half there. We wondered how this team would do maybe against the run when Derrick Henry wasn't getting the football in his hand. Well, Lamar Jackson had that early keeper that he had for, I think that was for 5 yards or something like that. Well, he had 4 total rushes for 9 yards, and I think didn't he have one of those was a kneel at the end of the game. So that's one of them. So they did a good job there. And Mitchell had 2 attempts for 2 yards in this game.
Yeah, it didn't start well. 41-yard run on that crack toss to open up the game. And you're thinking, okay, here we go. But you calm things down in the second half. Run defense was big, in part because, A, Baltimore didn't run it much, and B, because Baltimore barely had the ball. Pittsburgh possessed the ball a lot in the third quarter. Man, again, I talk about how good they've been in the third quarter after being a pretty mediocre team, both ends, and to open up the second half throughout much of the season. Dave, over the last 4 games combined, Miami, Detroit, Cleveland, and Baltimore last night, Pittsburgh's defense has allowed 8 yards in the third quarter. That is an unbelievable stat that I can barely wrap my head around. They allowed, what was it to Baltimore last night? I think 13.
13, yep, because 0 on their first possession because that ended in an interception, and then they had 13. All 13 of their net yards in the third quarter came on that second possession.
think it was -20 against Miami, -3 against Detroit, 18 to Cleveland, and 13 to Baltimore. Somehow Cleveland had the most successful third quarter offense of those four teams, which is not would have been my guess a month ago. But, again, part of that's because Pittsburgh's possessing the football. They're not giving the opposition the ball a lot. Pittsburgh opened up a third quarter of this game, 12-play drive, took over 6.5 minutes. That was big. You get the splash play takeaway. But yeah, the third quarter performance on both sides, but really this defense has been remarkable. And I don't know if a defense has had that kind of stat in recent memory.
I agree. And obviously Derrick Henry can't hurt you when he's on the sideline.
Yeah, right. And I mean, the offense for Baltimore literally went cold because they didn't touch the ball for an hour of this game, from the end of the first half to halftime to Pittsburgh's drive to open up the third quarter. Now the offense got going in the fourth quarter for the Ravens, and really Pittsburgh facilitated that by busting coverages constantly. And that was the issue in this game. And just to kind of talk about a negative, you allow touchdowns of 38, 50, and 64 yards. First time Pittsburgh allowed 3 touchdowns, passing touchdowns of 38-plus yards in the same game since 2017 against Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers, not the quarterback that day, was Brett Hundley, but yeah, you can't have that kind of stuff. You blew coverages in big-time moments, and then, Alex Highsmith, I'm so torn about his game because it was so good in so many ways. The sack, great run defense, but you missed that sack on Lamar, him and Benton, and Lamar steps up and throws deep to Zay Flowers, and God, if Pittsburgh lost this game, we'd be talking a lot about that play.
Yeah, let's talk about those 3 explosive plays for touchdowns real quick here. The first one, it looked like a cover 0 situation there, and Duggar. I didn't think Duggar certainly did not have a great first half. I'll tell you that. If you go back, once you go through the tape, keep an eye on Duggar in this one. But he looks like he. And they showed they kind of gave away, I think, what it was going to be, cover 0 blitz on that one, and then he starts off like he's going to come, and then he decides that he's not going to come anyway. They got 0 pressure on that whatsoever on a cover 0 blitz, and then Ramsey, I guess, just thinking they were going to go up underneath, try to get the ball out quick. He was kind of flat-footed and just got run right past. In that situation. Mm-hmm. So that, to me, I think was obviously you don't want that to happen in that situation there, and you got to put that one on Ramsey. On the second one, I believe the second one was also
that was the Flowers. That was the Flowers. The Highsmith missed sack there.
Okay, on that one, yeah, you obviously miss the sack, and Lamar extends the play, and I think you got kind of a Tampa 2, cover 2 type situation, and wait. No, Queen was running. Which one was the one where Queen's running down the middle? Was that the second one or the third one?
That was the first. That was the second explosive touchdown, Flowers' first touchdown. That was the missed sack attempt by Highsmith and Benton.
Okay, all right, yeah, and that's a lot to ask Patrick Queen on a extended play situation to run with him down the field.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, I think they were in inverted cover 2. They weren't in straight cover 2, I believe, and you had Queen as that pole runner down the seam, and so it's a tough matchup. Obviously, it's not what you're ideally planning for, but the bottom line is you had Highsmith and came off the edge, I think, and Benton get him dead to rights. And I know it's Lamar, but he's got a bad back. He's been hurt all year. You got to make that play, and that's just on the rush, not getting the job done.
Right. Once Lamar broke containment on that, it was over with there at that point, because it's a lot that, people say, well, Patrick Queen gave that up. Well, technically, I guess he did, but you cannot put that on him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically he did. When I chart this thing, I guess I will put it on Queen because, he was in coverage, but it's not Queen's fault. No. It's Highsmith and Benton, but really Highsmith.
All right, and on the final one, there was a situation where they break the huddle in a hurry, and the Steelers were trying to sort out the coverage in that situation, and they just totally blew the coverage. You have 3 guys running with one guy down the right sideline, and nobody's running with the guy wide open in that. So
was that man zone? What was it even supposed to be?
I don't even know. It feels so. I did not diagnose it because it was busted so bad.
Samuel was in the flat. Should he be getting depth there? I'm not sure if it would have mattered with how deep and how open Flowers was, but It's 3rd and 1. You're playing run because you got to sell it against the run when you're facing Derrick Henry. They do a great job. It was a great call by Baltimore. You fake the toss and get them wide open. So yeah, that was tough. That obviously can't keep happening. Your safety play was just not good enough.
I guess if you're going to rank them as far as the I don't know,
Egregiousness.
yeah, you know, Lamar Jackson's going to make those plays on you. So I would occasionally, even though you got him dead to right with 2 people, I would still call that one the less egregious of the 3.
No, I think it's the most egregious. You got that guy dead to right. You got 2 people on him. You go from sack to a touchdown. The other ones, I mean,
I would still call it because I mean that's what that guy's paid to do.
What is Alex Highsmith paid to do?
I know, but I think I would rank that as the less egregious.
What is the most egregious of the 3?
The not handling of the quick out of huddle type situation on the last one. And then
I would say the first one is the least egregious because I know Ramsey's thought process there of trying to play a quick throw with you. I guess it's not cover 0 because Duggar's dropping into coverage, but it's a heavy blitz look, obviously. I think the next egregious is the 3rd and 1 because I know you're playing to stop the run, and I think the missed sack, the Flowers' first touchdown is the most egregious because you got to make that play defensively.
All right. Well, the fact of the matter is they gave up once again. He completed 11 passes and 3 of them down the field, and most of the one to Likely, man. How do Jalen Ramsey mistimed the jump on that, and that obviously could have been a very impactful play that you wind up circling had they ended up kicking that field goal at the end of the game. But let's see how many of the 11 passes that Lamar Jackson completed were more than 10 yards down the field.
At least half of them. We just rattled off basically half of them right there. The 3 touchdowns, the Likely catch, and I'm sure there was probably something else somewhere in there. I think that it was a play action comeback route to maybe Flowers, left sideline. I think somewhere in that middle portion of the game, that would have been 10+ yards.
Let me see if I can pull up the completions real quick and get the air yardage on them real quick here. Thankfully, there's not a lot of them here. Air yards on the completions. He started the game with a -2 air yard. That one that was to Likely. Let's see, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more than 15 yards down the field.
Yeah, that one, the Flowers I mentioned was the 5th. I just lost my train of thought. I just had a point that I thought was pretty good that I got to try to recapture in my brain here, Dave. So you can talk for a second.
All right, was it complete? Was it completing it down the field? Or?
Oh yeah, it was on that Likely catch, that 4th and 7. When the ball was coming down after it was, at the end of that play, I thought for sure it was incomplete because I thought no way Jalen Ramsey allows that completion. I mean, Likely has to leap. It's Ramsey. He's a hard hitter. You saw Zay Flowers make a business decision earlier in the game with Ramsey over the middle. Like, I thought, okay, game over. Likely's going to drop this ball. Pittsburgh's won. And yeah, Ramsey just went for the ball. He told him it's time to jump. A big problem, and I don't want to be too negative here because you're celebrating basking in the win. How many big plays have your safeties allowed these last 2 games? Against Cleveland, the Tillman 40-yarder Chuck Clark allowed, the Fannin touchdown where Duggar just has no idea where the ball is at. This game, the Tez Walker touchdown, the Likely catch, whatever the busts might have been on that 3rd and 1, the 64-yarder by Flowers. Your safeties have to stop hemorrhaging big plays. That is a killer, obviously.
Yeah, and once again, I think you'll probably agree when you go through this. I don't think Kyle Duggar played all that great of a game.
Yeah, probably not. He had 1 or 2 decent run fills, but very happy whenever Deshaun Elliott comes back next year.
All right, going back to the run defense and all. And Cam Heyward talked about this after the game. They, and I think T.J. Watt did as well too. Just they were very, they were a lot more control of 2-gap situations and then filling gaps on other runs there. So they were a lot more sound in that situation. What about let's talk a little bit about T.J. Watt, a man coming back from a collapse partially collapsed along the way that he did. Played something like 40. How many snaps?
43 snaps 43? Out of the 50 something.
Yeah, let me get the numbers here specifically here. 40, where am I? 43 out of 51 snaps. I mean, that's just absolutely phenomenal. Took him a little while, I think, to get kind of his bearings in this game, but once he did, he talked after the game too about how fresh his legs were. How in the hell did he catch that batted ball? I mean, I know it hit him. I mean, it came right back at him, right, almost right in the neck area there and all. But just to have the reflexes to grab that ball, and who actually got the hand on it? Was it Heyward or Highsmith?
I don't care is my first answer. I thought it was Heyward. I, I only saw like one replay of it, so I've not really gone back to look at who actually batted it. But my thought was Heyward.
All right, let's see. Lamar Jackson sacked 3 times in this game. Herbig with a kind of a stunt with Queen going up the middle on one of them. Herbig just destroys the running back, discards him, and gets Lamar Jackson down to the ground. The sack by Alex Highsmith was absolutely phenomenal. To have to be able to go up in the air and then come down and Lamar pass you and you track him down from behind and still get the sack was absolutely phenomenal. And this won't, you want to talk about potential hidden plays that Derek Harmon out of technically sacking Lamar Jackson out of bounds. I believe that was a 3rd down play, was it not?
I think it was 3rd and 5 or so.
And he kept him short of the chains, I think, in that situation there. And for him to get on the hoof the way that he did after rushing and to force Lamar Jackson out of bounds in that situation for a sack was pretty phenomenal in and of itself. So those were your 3 sacks there.
Just to mention on Watt, just to put that in comparison, Alex Highsmith played 44 snaps, and as far as I know, his lungs have not been collapsed anytime recently, and so Watt was out there, and I figured he was going to play a lot of snaps. My expectation was about 80% based off that 2022 return from his pec injury, and he was, what was the percentage in this one, Dave? It was 84%, so just a little above that. Yeah, as you said, I think it was a pretty tough start for Watt early, kind of settled in. The cold weather didn't help. We talked about that. Cold weather with the lung injury is not great. He wore padding over the incision on his surgery, but he was on that likely catch, that 4th and 7. I was so mad about that play because Watt is a half step away. He beats the right tackle, Rosengarten. He's there on Lamar. If you can hold that coverage, a little another half second, Watt ends the season by sacking Lamar Jackson and putting Pittsburgh to the playoffs. And I would have been so mad if Pittsburgh lost that game because Watt is right there and Lamar just got the ball away in time.
Let's see what else I could do without Malik Harrison on the edge, trying to he got burnt on the outside, not being able, I think, hold the edge on one of those on the when he
might have been held, I think, though.
Yeah, on the right side there.
I thought his run defense, I thought, was good on the night. He's not an edge guy. He's not a foot speed guy. I think it was kind of a defensive wrinkle. They play a lot of packages. They're playing a lot of big people in this one, obviously. Peyton Wilson barely played. This was, that's maybe a separate conversation about Peyton Wilson. What does it say about you whenever you don't get to play against the run in Pittsburgh? When they feel like they trust you to play against the run, that's kind of concerning.
What about Logan Lee and the one snap that he played?
Let's go. I didn't realize it was one snap till I woke up this morning and I saw your charting, but he batted that pass down in the flat. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's a team effort. That's hand of the pile.
Yeah, and he was the one that had the interception go off his helmet.
Yeah. Against
Cleveland as well too. I thought he played more than that till I looked at the game book on that. But I thought to myself, hell, that's the way to stick. Mike Thomas says, you don't know how many chances you're going to have to impact the game. And if you like, that was I think a 3rd and long situation. He was going to go out to Henry over in the flat there. Well, if Henry catches that, he's got a lineman down in front of him. Who knows what the hell happens in that situation? Go back and look at that again and look at the lineman that's somebody, I think it was a lineman that's out in front of him in that situation there, because I think it was thrown behind. Yeah, it was way behind the line of scrimmage, so it wouldn't have been an eligible man downfield. Go back and look at that again. And yeah, it would have been a lot of work for Henry to get the first down in that situation. But you're talking about a big guy in Henry with a blocker in front of him. Who knows what the hell happens in that situation?
And there was such a culture in Pittsburgh to bat passes down. I mentioned that they weren't getting as many of those batted passes in recent weeks, and it looks like in the box score it officially went to Highsmith for a deflection on the interception as opposed to Cam Heyward. That's my interpretation of the box score I'm reading right now. But Highsmith had one. Watt is credited with one. Lee had one, obviously. Heyward didn't have one officially, but we know what his impact is. Harmon came super close on one. Obviously didn't get it, but you see him try. And so there's a culture in Pittsburgh for your defensive line. They can't get to the quarterback, and you still impact the pass game. How do you impact it? It's getting your hands up and throwing lanes, disrupting, and on the interception, the lead play. Yeah, that's very much ingrained into what Pittsburgh does.
All right, what would our viewpoint of this defense, however, be if Luke makes that field goal, though? We're sitting here, we're talking about all. I mean, we're both a little bit loopy here, but we're fanboying it a little bit. We're fanboying it too much, maybe on this defense.
I mean, we just talked about all the big plays they gave up and ranked how egregious they were. I mean, to quote Tomlin, if my aunt had milk parts, she'd be my uncle. I mean, it's just an all-time Tomlin line there. And the topper to that was Director of Communications Burt Lawton immediately saying after, we're going to edit that one, which they did. It's not in the edited version of it, but in the live version, you can hear Burt's response and Tomlin's response to that, the final question. Yeah, I mean, the defense was not great in this one, but
you can't give up. You can't give up those kind of plays that they gave up, the explosive plays that they gave up in this game, and expect to win many ball games in this situation. No. Plain and simple. They got away with it there. Even though there was a lot of good to like about what this defense did in this game, they were one missed field goal away from us from this historic defense of getting the talk about all these explosive plays that they gave up.
Sure, but that's life, that's sports. To the winner go the spoils. Isn't that the saying? I mean, if Luke makes that field goal, Baltimore's talking about, wow, what a great game by Lamar, and our defense made some plays, and yada yada. I mean, that's how this thing goes, man. So, you remember the victory, you savor the victory, and man, you win your first AFC North since 2020. You're hosting a home playoff game. It's just time to celebrate it.
All right. And we did. But we at least we made sure to highlight the big plays given up.
Patrick Queen, just one tackle in this game. Would not expect Patrick Queen to have just one tackle in this game. Not saying he played a bad game. I don't really know the quality of game that he played, but just surprising that he only had one tackle.
Well, once again, when Baltimore ran 40, how many plays? 46?
Something like that.
And we already talked a little while ago how Cam Heyward had 7 combined tackles. Keanu Benton had 7 combined tackles.
Yeah. What a stat that is. You had 14 tackles from your 2 defensive linemen, 9 solo.
Uh-huh.
That is remarkable. It kind of tells you about winning. Even though Baltimore still had some good runs, kind of started winning the line of scrimmage in the second half.
Right. So, but Queen, I'll have to go back and look and see if he missed any tackles or anything like that. But I thought he played a relatively good game.
Was there a rotation of Pierre and Samuel? I guess there was. I was thinking about on the last Flowers touchdown why Pierre wasn't in the game, but I guess they were rotating because it was Pierre's first game back in several weeks.
I don't know the breakdown of that. I'll have to.
Your charting shows 30 snaps for Pierre and 21 for Samuel. So I assume that was a rotation based.
All right.
And Chuck Clark played 18. Wonder how Clark got 18. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll chart it up. We'll let you know.
All right. Special teams. Boy, what'd you think as soon as they gave up that big return at the end there?
Pittsburgh's going to lose this game,
which
is my default setting throughout this game because I'm pretty darn cynical sometimes. No one was good. Baltimore just made the worst play last. And that's kind of what the difference was. I mean, Waitman's punting was iffy. Boswell did great to hit a 57-yarder, but missed an extra point. So what are the odds of that?
Yep.
The other thing with Loop, not to make him feel worse, I'm sure he's probably a good kid, good kicker. He'll bounce back. He also kicked that ball out of bounds, which had Pittsburgh go on that scoring drive, which doesn't mean as much in today's NFL from the 40 to the 35, but obviously trying to pin teams deeper than that. So everyone will talk about the missed 44-yarder, which they should. But that kickoff out of bounds, which I think has been an issue for Luke this season. I was reading one comment from a Ravens fan. That was also pretty impactful. So, yeah, Pittsburgh to allow, I think it was the longest kick return they allowed the entire season was that Mitchell return on that last kick, which is just insane because the coverage unit's been awesome all year. They've been fantastic. And so that was just kind of a heartbreaker. If there is any sort of grace to Boz, he made a tackle on Mitchell, so I guess every yard kind of counted at the end. So there's something.
All right. Not the special teams' finest moment in that one. All right.
Real quick, Dave. Jason McCourty, big mad about no penalty on that loop missed field goal. He believes there could have been a call on Skoranek for leverage. This may be black and gold tinted rose-colored glasses. I don't think that's a penalty at all.
That's the one he leaped, didn't he?
Yeah, he jumped.
Or leapt.
Leaped, tomato. He cleared the long snapper. He did put his hand on the snapper's back, but that's when he's coming down. To me, that's no use of leverage. That's really just instinctual. He's falling down. It's a quick moment on the snapper's back. Really, I think they did a great job. The snapper was clean. Heck, that call on Travis Jones in Week 14, which was the wrong call for roughing the snapper, was more contact and more egregious than anything Skoranek or Pittsburgh did on that loop missed field goal. So I think that's all sour grapes from McCourty and anyone else who believes that's a penalty.
All right, I'll have to go back and look at that closer. I have not studied that one.
It's kind of a crazy play because you don't have Darnell out there, and Darnell's been on the field goal block team before getting hurt because of his size. You got Skoranek, great hops to leap there, great effort. You got Kolar, the Ravens left wing. I've never seen this before. Go watch the left wing. He usually they just kind of stay tall and put their hands out and punch. He leaves his left wing spot and he tries to go over to the middle to block Skoranek and any sort of leaper, which is pretty cool idea. And then Luke misses the field. I guess there's a lot going on that play, Dave.
Okay. I'll have to go back and study that when I get to the go back through it next time here. All right, let's get to some reader emails. Get out of here because we're going to be doing a live stream later tonight.
Well,
we got
a couple more things I do want to get to. It's Black Monday for teams who are not in the playoffs like Pittsburgh, and so there's been some head coach firings and some news. Last night, I think really during the Steelers game, or maybe right before, the Falcons cleaned house. They fired Raheem Morris. They fired GM Terry Fontenot. There'll be some questions about could Raheem Morris become Pittsburgh's DC in the offseason. We'll see. It's good we can wait on that discussion. I'm not convinced. I know that Tomlin and Morris are BFFs, but I think Morris probably will want to run a defense solo as opposed to kind of in conjunction with Tomlin. But we'll see. A couple more firings today as of 11:30 a.m. Kevin Stefanski, Browns 6-year head coach, fired. That's no surprise. GM Andrew Berry is staying, though, so that is certainly notable. So Cleveland will be looking for a new head coach. Pete Carroll of the Raiders, fired. That is also no surprise. One and done there. Zach Taylor in Cincinnati is staying. Bengals announcing that him and Duke Tobin, their de facto GM, will return in 2026. It's a critical year for them. And John Harbaugh's fate still unknown as of this recording.
Yep. And Lamar was asked a bunch of questions about his future after the game and didn't want to get into that right after the game either. There, so it'll be interesting to watch that play out there. And I imagine there might be another firing or two here, right? Who else? So Tennessee had already fired their coach. They had already had an interim, so they're going to have a spot to fill. Who else?
They're already conducting interviews and requests, and does not sound like Arthur Smith is going to be a candidate. I thought he was. We'll see. Arizona, Jonathan Gannon, Miami, Mike McDaniel, probably some other places I'm forgetting now too.
The Jets are going to keep Glenn, aren't they?
Is that official?
I don't know if it's official or not, but it felt like it was going that way.
That was the Glazer report. I mean, they got just trounced by Mitch Trubisky and Buffalo's backups. What a note to go out on. Who else? Some rumors about LaFleur in Green Bay. I'd be surprised if LaFleur got canned. But yeah, I think that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
Let me see if we got anybody else in here.
Also, just quickly, I thought it was a really interesting comment Marlon Humphrey made post game. He talked about, I think after the Hamilton injury, as he was down, or maybe some other play, Mike Tomlin had a conversation with Marlon Humphrey and talked about kind of keep your head up. You're a really good player. Team still respect you, but you're having a tough year. Kind of interesting. I'm thinking about just quick free agency stuff. Marlon Humphrey to the Steelers.
Is he? Is he a free agent?
He was talking about he didn't know if he'd be back next year. I don't know if that's because of a contract or if his contract's expiring. Let me check here. His contract runs through 2026, but it's a pretty big number. So I think there'll be conversations about if he stays.
All right. We'll have to watch that one then, see what happens there. Obviously, hopefully we won't have to worry about having those kind of talks for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I like Marlon Humphrey. I know it's maybe a tougher year, but he's older, and that's kind of tired of older cornerbacks, and they're close to 30, but something to think about. All right, Dave, let's get to some read emails and close out today's show.
All right, we got a bunch of them obviously to get through here. Tony Benjamin, chest pounding. Holy crap, guys! I had to restart my heart 3 times during that game. Here's my question for you: was Tomlin's chest pounding and blown kiss a message to people who wanted to get him fired? If so, it's out of character for him. Then again, he's been different for the last 2 years. Nah, Tony. I mean, I don't know if you see the clips. Almost after every win, I don't know if the camera always catches him pounding his chest, but he has done that before, and he's notorious for blowing kisses after the game. So I just think that was Tomlin's MO with all the adrenaline running through him right after the game in that situation. So I don't take the chest pounding and the blown kiss as a kind of an FU to people that wanted him fired. It may have been, but it's not like that was the first time we've seen him do that.
No, he's done it a lot in big games after big wins. So I think it was just excited about the win, excited to win your first AFC North title for a long time. Finally get to pass out those hats and T-shirts they've been carrying around for 2 weeks now. So, yeah, it's just enjoying the moment.
All right, Nathan Casey as possibly the best kicker in Steelers history, missed an extra point. It felt like the season's outcome was settled. It seems like nearly every game in recent history was very similar with a roller coaster feel. With DK Metcalf coming back, will Aaron look shell-shocked and jittery versus that Texans pass rush like he did against Cleveland? It is in Pittsburgh, which should help, but can they score enough points to win? I remember when the Texans, with an injury-depleted O-line, completely out-schemed our defense last year. I'm hopeful and ready for another cardiac roller coaster come Monday night. Also, thanks for the reverse jinx, Alex. Please pick the
Welcome.
Texans this week. Nathan, I don't even want let us try to still devour and chew on what we observed Sunday night Pittsburgh against the Ravens before I even think about the Texans. But yeah, the Texans have a hell of a damn defense, and that'll be obviously a lot of focus on what we do as far as film work going into this next game here. Lewis,
He referenced the 2023 game. Was that what he was talking about?
I think he said last year, but it was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, they got routed 30-6. It's such apples and oranges. That's such a different team. I mean, how many guys from that game are even still in Pittsburgh? Maybe 10, if that. Your secondary is completely different. Your secondary of that game, because I had this conversation with somebody, was like Minkah Fitzpatrick, Levi Wallace, Patrick Peterson, Keanu Neal, and Joey Porter Jr., I think, in his 3rd career game playing dime snaps. So your secondary is completely different. Your quarterback is different, obviously. I know that people say, well, it's Tomlin still the same, but to me, those rosters are so much different. The personnel is such a contrast and change that it almost makes that 23 game pretty darn moot.
Yeah, I agree.
And that was in Houston, by the way, not in Pittsburgh.
Right. Luis Diaz, hi guys, saying hi from Mexico City. Do you have any theory on how, during the last month or so, the defense has been so good in the 3rd quarter and so bad in the 4th?
I don't know, man. I
don't have a good theory as why. It's just, I mean, they've been really damn good in the 3rd, though, as Alex pointed out there.
Well, that makes the 4th quarter struggles even more confounding in some ways, I guess. But yeah, I don't have a lot of answers for kind of this stuff. It's football. One or two plays can change a lot, and obviously it did on both ends yesterday.
All right, Deshaun Campbell back in here. Sup, guys? Was just wondering how you guys interpret Tomlin's comments. You know what it is. If my aunt had male parts, she'd be my uncle. Do you guys take that as Tomlin knew he would get fired if he didn't win that game? No, I think you're reading way too. I think Tomlin was answering that more as what if, I mean, you're a missed kick away from not being in the playoffs, and basically it's a unsavory answer to him normally not answering a hypothetical question. Is basically the way I took it.
Yeah, I think people are reading too much into this comment. I've kind of seen some weird reaction to it, to what is just an objectively hilarious thing to say. All he's saying is, yeah, he might have made the kick, but he didn't, so shut up. We won the game.
Right.
Like, who cares? I'm not thinking about what if he did, he didn't, and that's all that matters. We won, we advance, and the results are the results. That's all we care about. That's all. That's all the phrase means, and that's all that Tomlin's answer was.
Todd Gensler, hello. One of the most fun games I've watched in a long time. Many fans and a lot of media, me included, have felt like it has been time to move on from Tomlin. What is it going to take for that narrative to change? Last night is a step, but like we've all said, if we don't win a playoff game, then this season is deemed yet another failure. What say you? Yeah, look, I mean, even though last night felt like a playoff game, it was not a playoff game. It was a regular season game and one that you had to win to get into the playoffs. So now all the talk's going to be about, okay, you're back in the playoffs for this 3 seasons in a row now, right? As far as in a row go, and obviously go back to 2016 since the last playoff game. And look, I mean, we don't hang, we talk about it, but there's no pride in non-losing seasons and getting bounced from the playoffs, and one playoff game, that's not the goal of this season. So, what will it take for that narrative change? Probably a deep run into this thing, or winning at least 2 games probably might change it a little bit.
I don't know what the reaction will be if they win, quote unquote, just one game. If they beat Houston, they lose in the divisional round. It's at least some sort of tangible progress of your franchise doing something different than the one and dones. But we'll focus on just the win right now. And I wrote the article this morning, the opinion piece, that the season really begins now because Pittsburgh can get to the playoffs with basically any roster of, MacGyver together, twine and plastic and things you find in a trash can. Like Pittsburgh can make a playoff appearance with any roster possible, but can you get over that hump? This season should be defined by your postseason success. It's the reason why we all loathe the never had a losing season stat, all that kind of stuff. So I know if Pittsburgh loses to Houston on Monday night, we're in the same place. Like, should Tomlin be fired? Franchise can't go anywhere, all that kind of stuff. And, some of that is valid, but, will one playoff win change that? We'll see. A deep run, I think, certainly would change that. The question is, would one playoff win change that?
All right. Probably not, but we'll see. All right. Chris Warren writes in, and the title of this is Carry On My Heyward Sons. Do you know what
Nice.
he's referencing there?
Carry On My Wayward Son. I don't remember the band, though. This was on Guitar Hero. You never played Guitar Hero, but that was my jam growing up.
I played actual
Kansas?
guitar.
Kansas?
Yeah,
All
it was
right.
Kansas. Yeah, good.
For the win.
I'm not a big Kansas fan, by the way. All right. I have seen them live, though, before. Old days.
Where at? In Savannah?
No, in, I think Mobile, Alabama.
All right.
Many moons ago. All right, Dave and Alex, I wish you guys could devote an hour of today's podcast to Cam Heyward alone. I think it was one of Cam's best games of all time. What do you think? Yeah, well, we hit on that. We have dedicated a pretty good portion of Cam Heyward's play in this. He said it was awesome to see Connor involved in making plays. He says Craig Ironhead Heyward should be proud of his boys as they both stepped up on the big stage in what will be considered an instant classic Steelers-Raven game. Agreed with that. Both the Heyward boys played well. Look, Connor Heyward is not one of the top, will not be known as the best fullback in the league, but he has kind of embraced that role and he has made progress in the fullback. When he's asked to line up as a fullback, he has made progress in that area, I believe.
And they've been using him as a fullback more. I don't know the charting, but he's probably going to be getting some more run there lately. So I don't know if that's what Darnell Washington absence, where they're trying to do some different power stuff, or whatever the case. They've kind of had some weak lead runs too. But yeah, that's kind of been notable that Heyward is playing some more fullback, it feels like.
But yeah, both the Heyward brothers had a great game, I thought, against the Ravens. All right, Matthew Sutter. Let's make this a final one and get out of here. Matthew Sutter says, "Hi guys, love the show. Thanks for your insight that helps us fans get through the ups and downs of a rocky season." He says, "Wow, what a game! I was using my terrible towel to wipe the sweat from my brow in the fourth quarter. It'll be interesting to see if the Steelers can match their effort in the upcoming week that they displayed against the Ravens. That was not the the same team that lost to Cleveland, he writes. Keys to beat Houston, he says. Continue to use the running backs in the flat, use the tight ends in the middle of the field, especially down the seam. Occasional plays from DK. More importantly, he says, Watt, Highsmith, Herbig, and Heyward need to be a bigger story than Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. Thanks for listening to my 2 cents. That's Matt from Warren, Michigan. Yeah, we got plenty of talk coming up, and we got the extra day to talk about it as well too, Matt. So yeah, I like everything that you said there. They're definitely going to have a good showing on offense versus this good Texas defense, and defensively they're going to have to get a good game out of Watton, Highsmith, Herbig, and Heyward and company there. So
Can you just give me your real quick skinny on Houston? I know we're both haven't even gotten a point to think about the Texans too much, and we certainly will do a whole lot more of that Wednesday and especially Friday. But just kind of give me your 30,000 quick trip up the mountain on the Texans.
You got to get the ball out quick. Obviously, you can't expect to hold on to the football against that pass rush. They are a very, very talented pass rush team. They can get after the quarterback. If you get on one-on-one situations, you got to get the ball out quick too, down the side of the field. As far as offensively, I haven't spent as much time on the offense there, but they, Nico Collins. I mean, they got some playmakers over there. I think their offensive line might be a little underrated overall. But shut down the run, get them in 3rd and long situations, and obviously on the Steelers offense, you got to get the ball out quick.
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, just kind of 3 quick things come to mind. I'm not studying the Texans in depth at all, really. As the reader said, as you said, the pass rush combination, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, maybe the best duo in football, and Pittsburgh's offensive line will be tested in much bigger ways than they were by Baltimore with that limit, pass game because of the chippers, all that kind of stuff. But thank God DK Metcalf is back. I think about that Houston secondary, how young it is, but how well they're playing. You have Stingley and Lassiter at corner and Bullock at safety. All guys are 24 years old or younger. They have combined 12 interceptions this year, 4 apiece, which is remarkable. So that youth of that secondary versus the 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers will be a fun chess match to talk about with DK's return. And then offensively, the run game is not great. They got a rookie running back and Woody Marks back there. I don't think they have a particularly potent run game, so can you make them one-dimensional? But they get some pass game targets. Nico Collins and the rookie Jalen's and Noel and Higgins. Those guys have really played well, and they've gotten some big plays this year. So defending that big play pass game will be important, especially given that Pittsburgh gave up a lot of big plays last night.
I think you got to try to run the ball on these guys up the middle and to left guard. They are ranked 28th in the league on runs up the middle at 4.52 yards per carry, and to left guard 4.33 yards per carry, ranked 22nd in the league. They have been run on the most up the middle, 127 times up the middle against them. So that seems to be the sweet spot that the Steelers might want to consider focusing on when running the football. Somewhere between the tackles.
All right. We'll talk about them more throughout the week.
All right. We will be back at 7:00 Eastern time on Alex Kozora's YouTube channel for our bi-weekly YouTube live stream. So tune in for that. Imagine we'll have a pretty good crowd for that tonight. And in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter/X. I'm starting to lose my voice at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show terriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate, SteelersDepot.com if you want to do that. And also if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button and follow the directions that way. We're apologizing because we're so damn loopy today. I've had 0 sleep. I think Alex has had like 3 hours of sleep, maybe. We'll try to get it a little bit more together by the Wednesday show where we'll recap Mike Tomlin's press conference, go over more in detail what the All-22 showed us from the game, and start looking ahead to the Steelers' wild card game in Pittsburgh against the Houston Texans on Monday night. So, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.